We are live, ladies and gentlemen. WeatherBrains episode number 452. This is for September 22nd, 2014. It's the pre-show, the marvelous time of the show here where we go around the horn and share whatever is on our mind. These could be boring personal stories. These could be stories about private matters that we can't do during the audio podcast. We could talk about our technical woes. We could talk about our love life. I think for the four of us on this part of the show, I don't know. Brian, you want to talk about your love life? Yeah.
Well, other than the 45th anniversary, no.
Oh, that's a great little love story. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, she deserves all the credit.
I'm at 33. It is hard for a woman to be married to somebody in this business. We work horrible hours. We're never home when the weather's bad. We often are, we have to go on these trips and stuff. It's hard. So that's a great deal, Brian. Congratulations.
Yeah, she deserves all the credit.
This show, I think we're coming up on our 8th anniversary, aren't we? WeatherBrains? Is it 8 or 9? I need to go back and dig up the first show number 1. What year and what date that was. I know we've been doing this at least 8 years, which is crazy.
I know it.
Brian and I were both 18 when this show started. So I'm going over to do Marshall's show. Marshall has been on our show so many times out of the kindness of his heart. So I am going to be on his show.
Wow.
This weekend. And next weekend, it's a twofer. It's back to back. So we're going to record the shows Wednesday night, and I'm thinking about staying up all night tomorrow night just to be really cranky. They've said that I can say anything I want to. I can talk about crap apps. We can talk about TorCon. I'm going to go on a tirade. This is going to be good. So, but they're recording this, so they still have the right to edit it out later, I guess. But
I saw the list of topics that Marshall posted. It looks pretty interesting.
Really, they've said you can talk about anything you want to. But the way this show works, by the time you do the weather on the 8s or whatever, and you do the commercials, you're only down to about 15 minutes of actual content. So you're doing a 15-minute show with, goodness, that's the length of our pre-show here. We do 90 minutes, and it's just going to fly by. So if I get into one of my tirades or fits, I'll have to do it quickly. But I think they want that. They want me to start waving my hands and going off. So we'll see. John, you okay there? Did you fall off
I'm here.
I'm
here. I just can't get my camera to cooperate.
I thought you had this solved last week. I thought it was totally solved. John, how long did you work for the Weather Channel?
Oh, let's see. 4 years.
Okay, was the current ownership involved, or was this an entirely different group back then?
Well, we were not owned by NBC at that point, so it was still owned by the company in Norfolk, right?
Okay, I got you. They'll ban me. I'll never be invited back over there after this week, so I'll have to steal Dr. John's old badge to get in the building there. So we're missing Kevin and Aubrey. I think Aubrey said she's going to be home this week, and she's had some audio issues, but she said she was going to work on those. And Kevin he sent me some audio, so I think he's going to be here, or maybe just we're supposed to play the audio. If he doesn't show up, I'm gonna play his old commercial. Man, this T-shirt commercial was awesome.
New from Kevco. As seen on TV.
That's a great commercial. That is a great spot. Ooh, Chris, hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us again. You're way too kind.
Oh, no problem.
An hour of your life with us.
Yes.
Um,
I am a Google Hangout newbie, so hopefully I do this right.
Well, you're ahead of me.
so far, haven't you? Haven't you been on the show before?
I have. We did it, oh gosh, a year or two ago. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it was over the telephone, so this is my first go at Google Hangouts.
Okay. Okay. No, your video and audio is really good.
Got a good Comcast connection, so.
I was about to say, man, you got a big pipe there. What kind of camera is that?
It is on an iMac.
Wow, that is a clean look. Brian is on an iMac, and his video always looks good.
Yeah, yeah. I like this. I've had it about 3 years now. It's been a good computer. I'm kind of an Apple guy, so.
Yeah, my wife has one, an iMac, and she rarely ever uses it anymore. I'm thinking about confiscating it.
Yeah.
It's got one of these hybrid drives. You know, it's what do they call those things, Brian? It's a hybrid spindle drive and a solid state drive.
Yeah.
I forget what they call them, but
I can't think of it either. But I have it on this one.
Yeah. It's very fast, and she just rarely ever uses it. I mean, she just does everything she needs to do on her phone or her iPad. So we have an iMac that just kind of sits up there. But although she's weirded out about this Facebook Messenger app, and she will, she won't install it because she one of her buddies said, they're going to be spying on you and they're going to be turning on your camera, and so she goes up there to check her Facebook messages on that iMac, and that's about it. So Kevin, do you have the Messenger app installed?
No, I didn't install it on principle because I don't like them.
Ooh, okay. Well, cool.
I have a big delay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, your audio is a little distorted at the open, like it was a bandwidth issue.
Yeah, the bandwidth here stinks.
What do you got there? Cable?
We have AT&T Uverse right now.
Uverse.
Yeah.
Uverse.
We love the TV product's great. The internet product I have some issues with.
Okay. So Nate Johnson just sent a note, said I will be late and will join in progress. So I've got to invite two of our guests on one hangout. We got a twofer here, 2 for 1. So let's try this.
Is that like crossing the streams in?
And Ghostbusters.
And we've got this thing. We finally got it figured out how you invite people. You use their email address. You don't use their Google Plus profile.
Their circle, yeah.
And if you invite you just use the email address, it works like a charm. All right, let's see here. Let's turn on the Google Hangout toolbox. And this interesting note you sent, Kev.
Which one is that?
My new owners.
Oh.
From the Washington Post.
Yes.
Of course, we're about to go live on the cable here, so we better not talk about that.
Probably not the best time to start that now.
No, while we're on their channel. In fact, in about 30 seconds, we'll join our cable television audience.
Interesting characters, though, that's for sure.
Yeah. Aubrey, let's get a mic check from you.
Hello. How is it?
Terrible.
I bet.
We can put our
I've got so much noise now, it's like not good.
Nope, hang on. The husband here, shut the door.
Yeah, for some reason, it sounds like the mic is under your armpit. I don't know. Is that the way to describe it, Kevin? You're my audio guy.
I'm not really familiar with the armpit measuring parameter, so.
Well, if this mic's too big, but if I could get this thing under my armpit,
yeah, okay, good.
Squash
Give us a sample, yeah.
I think the mic's right here.
It's not sounding like this, and it's kind of so,
maybe the mic's under the computer. I don't know.
Kevin, we got to get her a one of those snowball. What's that thing you got there?
I've got a Yeti, but I also have a snowflake somewhere.
Snowflake.
A Yeti?
This is
Oh,
my
a Yeti.
This is my Yeti.
Ooh.
It's about $100. I'm really happy with it, but the stand is really echoey. I had a snowball at TXCN, and I don't know what happened to my Snowflake. Snowflake's a pretty good deal. It's only about $60. This one's about
But Aubrey,
$100.
your video is clean as a whistle. I mean, your video is really good.
That's good, because I moved rooms.
But your
Is your camera the onboard camera on the computer? Is it a laptop?
Yeah, it's a laptop. It's my husband's laptop.
And do you see any indication where there's a microphone in the housing of the laptop? Like probably on the lower part, or on the side, or on the top.
Yeah, I think it's by the keyboard.
Oh yeah, tap what you think that is.
Do you hear it? No.
Yeah,
Maybe.
that doesn't sound like it though.
Oh, what about
That's
this?
not it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is by the
So
camera.
is it a camera that's built into the laptop, or is it an external camera?
No, it's a camera that's built into the laptop. We don't have a lot here in Virginia.
Yeah. You should try the little gear setting and look at the microphone settings and see if there's any other options.
The gear setting here.
Up at the top, there's a gear.
Okay.
And you'll see camera and microphone and speakers and all that stuff.
Default microphone.
Do you have are there any other options?
Yep. I have here real text high definition.
Try the other options and we'll see.
Test. This is real text. Real text.
That didn't help.
Nope.
I don't even think it switched on anything. Oh, here's the snowflake. Looks like this, and it pops out.
Hey, let's see if our two guests here are on with us. We have Mike and Rachel. Can you guys hear us okay?
We're here. Yeah, we can hear you.
Cool. We're going to start the show here in just a second. We are, in fact, hello, welcome to our cable television viewers. And again, a reminder for everybody, Chris and Mike and Rachel, this is mainly an audio show. Most people listen by audio. We obviously do video. For the purposes of having it on cable television in my market, and also a lot of people watch on YouTube, but because it's an audio show, if you guys have any weird noises going on, you might want to mute, and you can do that in the Hangout. Up there at the top is a turn, mute microphone button. I can mute you from here, but it just be easier for you to do that yourself if you want to. So if you guys have any strange noises. So Nate is late, so who's going to do the interview here? We had this problem last week, didn't we?
A couple weeks ago we did.
John?
Yeah, I interviewed a couple.
We'll gang up on him.
Look at the questions we want.
Okay.
I thought I saw Nate on.
He's coming late, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
he's in
he
the-
sent a note, said he's going to join in progress, but I just saw him join the Hangout here, so maybe he'll be good to go. But man, Chris, you're rocking that thing, man. Your video and audio are really good. That's nice.
That's good to hear. It's good to hear. I got a high-end Comcast connection I fired up about 7 or 8 months ago. I've been really happy with it.
Okay, cool. All right. So who's going to do the introduction and everything here? I have not done my homework.
Introduce me last, and I'll do it.
Okay, awesome. Kevin is the ultimate professional. All right, let's get this thing going here. Brian, I'm afraid to tell him when I'm doing the show on here. I'm not going to do that. I did something. we are living on the edge here. We are running this on OS 10.10 Yosemite,
Oh.
which is not Gold Master level yet. So we are running on a beta, which could be a total disaster.
I thought you said you never would do that on a production machine.
I was in a drug-induced stupor. All right, so I've been sick for 2 weeks.
That new iPhone came in, and he just went nuts with upgrading stuff.
Yeah, I just went ballistic. Actually, I did need to have access to the iCloud Drive, which was fairly important. That was one of the reasons I did it. So, all right, I'm still not well. All right, record.
Well, how is that any different than the last?
I was going to say the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Let me get the right. I got my doctor. I'm all discombobulated here. I was about to play this one. That's not the thing. Here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. WeatherBrains! This is the weekly show all about weather. WeatherBrains episode number 452 for the 22nd of September. I wish this show was on the 21st of September, because I could play the song "September" by Earth, Wind and Fire that starts. Do you remember the 21st night of September?
Do it anyway.
Probably the only. I should do that. And I don't even have the song loaded here. And it might be, but it would take me too long to dig through that. But it's the equinox. It is the time for fall to begin. And what's interesting is we are doing this show. We are literally 1 hour away. Do you realize we are actually going to celebrate the equinox during this show?
Wow.
And, in some cultures, I think they take their clothes off and run around the streets nude on the days of the equinox. And I'm only hoping that regular panelists of this show do not participate in that ritual. So please.
Isn't it that if you're doing a podcast during the equinox, that afterwards you're all married to each other?
Whoops.
Yeah, I think that's it. We'll find out.
People are dropping like
flies now. This show is going right down the tubes at the very beginning. But Brian Peters is going to be balancing an egg on its end and standing a broom up at the equinox. People still think there's. Yeah. So, Brian, how are you? What's happening there in Weather Central South?
I'm happy to say that I'm doing well, and I'm sure happy to see. It's kind of funny, James. We had all these cold fronts in June and July, and now here we are, the equinox, and we're finally getting our first, what I would consider to be, real taste of fall.
Yeah, and we're down here in the deep south. Brian and I are in the same market, and we are going to be way down in the 50s tomorrow morning. And I would imagine up in Aubrey Urbanowitz land, she's going to see some 40s up there, huh?
Oh, yeah. We went 43 for our low tonight, which will be the coldest since May 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Did I see some frost advisories for parts of West Virginia and Pennsylvania?
Yeah. Pendleton and Grant County and Randolph County, they've got a frost advisory, so a couple counties in our area, so we went 37 for them. So not, I brought my herbs in tonight, so not, I kind of live in the county. I'm not in town. I'm in the rural area now. So
you live in an estate, a large estate, right, with 10 acres of land.
We call it
guards.
We call it Fort Wagler. I live at Fort Wagler outside of Harrisonburg.
Cool. And for those that don't know, Aubrey is with WHSV Television in lovely Harrisonburg, Virginia, and she is at her. You're not in an edit bay this evening. You are home.
I'm home with apparently bad audio. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, and again, we're going to get Kevin is our audio officer now. He needs a new title, so Kevin is the audio officer. So we are going to somehow get you one of these Yetis or snow. What do you call those things, Kevin? Snowbirds, snow.
That's right, James. It's a snowflake and a Yeti microphone from the company called Blue, and they're wonderful microphones.
As you can tell, Kevin is our audio expert. But no, we're gonna get one using the massive WeatherBrains production budget up there to you, Aubrey. So this
T-shirt
problem
money.
will be solved soon.
We'll take T-shirt money and buy Aubrey a microphone.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk about T-shirts here in just a second. We've got Dr. John Scala, and it's got to be brisk up in your part of the world too, huh?
Oh, absolutely. We do have a frost advisory out to the west in Somerset County. That's out southwest of Altoona. That's slightly higher elevation out there. It's what we call the Laurel Highlands. So it's going to be a chilly one around here. I think for us about 40, but not far from us in the Valley and Ridge, probably upper 30s, 37 to 39. So this will be, as Aubrey was saying, the coolest night since late spring.
This is exciting. I'm a big fall weather fan. This is great. Rick Smith, how low will you go in Oklahoma City?
Not as low as our neighbors to the east, but I think we've got a low about 55, 57 forecast for the metro area tonight, so that's awesome. 68 right now.
Balmy.
Yeah.
Saw some great sunset shots out your way tonight, and really last couple of nights out there. It's the season for cool nights, great sunsets, just a marvelous time of the year.
Yep.
Kevin Shelley is located in North Texas, where they can have some cool sunsets.
Oh, absolutely. Yesterday was great. Our dew point, I was just checking, we're currently with a dew point of 46 here in Arlington, Texas, and we have not been that low, I think, since 1984. My wife and I just went out and had a nice stroll, and it's particularly lovely. Rick, did you see, the line of thunderstorms just north of the Red River last night? Were you watching that? Did you see that outflow boundary that came off of those?
I didn't get to see it in real time. We were in Tulsa for something and driving back, and I was trying to watch the road and look at the Virga and look at the double rainbows and look at everything else that was going on and not run off the turnpike. But no, I missed that.
I have a screen grab from Radar Scope on my phone because we were actually up in Wichita Falls, and the fine line, I think it was mostly dust because we were there when it came through, but it's worth going to my Twitter feed because it's a really, really neat outflow boundary picture.
Take a look at it. That's
cool. It
cool.
was really, really, really cool stuff. So speaking of Rick and his social media stuff, James, do you have the audio that I sent to you?
Are we ready to roll?
We're getting close, yeah. Rick, this is inspired by Rick. And I think it's going to be endorsed by Rick and the National Weather Service and NOAA. We'll decide afterwards. But you sent out the funniest Facebook thing the other day. Tell everybody what it was. Something about friends not letting friends. And what was the thing?
Yeah, let's see. It sparked such a huge discussion on Twitter. I erased part of it from my memory, but
it was so funny.
Friends don't let friends share ridiculous winter weather forecast or something like that.
Yeah, on social media. It was.
Yeah,
I just laughed, and so I thought, well, that's really kind of a public service thing. All of us are complaining, right, about all these crazy things that go by on social media and the amateur forecasters who we love, but sometimes some of the stuff that they put out, gets a little crazy. So I thought that maybe this would be a good public service campaign. So this one's a little longer than most of the stuff that I usually send, but here is a presentation from Team WeatherBrains Community Theater.
We interrupt this program for a CBS Radio Net Alert Bulletin.
Psst. Hey, kid.
Who, me?
Take a look at this.
Whoa. This professional-looking graphic says there'll be a largest of all time, record-setting, polar vortex-induced superstorm developing in the upper Midwest, converging with a never-before-seen southern stream mega shortwave over the southeast, merging with an out-of-season Category 7 tropical system off the northeast coast, encountering an omega block-induced 1,250 millibar cold air high-pressure bubble over the northeast affecting billions of people in March 2017.
You know what it means, don't you? Chicago, 3 degrees above absolute zero. 120,000-foot top thunderstorms from New Orleans to Atlanta. And the antenna on the top of the new Freedom Tower in New York will be the only thing sticking out of the snow.
Whoa. I need to share this professional-looking graphic on my social media accounts right away. Where do I find it?
Right here, on the International Weather Authority Service Facebook page.
Remember, friends don't let friends share ridiculously long-range forecasts on social media. Only you can prevent social meteorology hype. This message from the Ad Council and anyone with a lick of sense.
Oh my god.
That is awesome.
So there you go, Rick. Do you think we can get that into the rotation from the National Weather Service, maybe?
Send it my way, and we'll make sure it's on Weather Radio in the morning.
Okay, so Rick has officially endorsed this on behalf of the government, and so we'll get that into the pipeline there, James.
And I'll speak for Chris, too. Chris will be in Paducah, I'm sure.
Oh, good. Yeah, Chris, of course, sure.
I think we need that copyrighted.
So you know, I'm going on Marshall Shepard's show on the Weather Channel.
Oh yeah.
I need to carry that audio with me. If you guys really want to prop up your ratings, you gotta get some cool routines like this. I mean, this is what you're missing right
there.
There
you go.
So,
that's awesome.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Wow,
I like that. I think we're
stuff.
going to stick with that community theater thing. So anybody wants to send in suggestions and stuff, maybe we can make that happen.
What were you doing to your voice, man? You sounded like Morgan Palmer. You're like a movie trailer guy there. Was that some kind of processing or what?
No, I never said that was me.
Oh, yes, it was.
Yeah.
You were doing this kind of thing. And,
I'm auditioning for the booth announcer for ABC's, Thursday night lineup of horror shows or something.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah. Anyway, that was fun. No processing on that. That was all me. So thank you for noticing.
wow, big pipes. All right, well, bring in our guest, Kev.
Let's do it. Our first guests are two students from, where is it, Millersville University. We've got Mike Yalk. Is that how you pronounce your name, Mike?
Yalch, but close
Yalch.
enough.
I blew that one out of the water, didn't I? And I think I can get Rachel's last name, Rachel Coulter.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's
Very
it.
good. Welcome, guys. We'll come back to you in just a second. And Chris Knowles is here from the National Weather Service in Paducah. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Good. Thanks for coming on. Well, guys, all of the guests, this is a free-for-all. You are all part of the panel, and so jump in and out, and we'll just ask you some questions as we go along. But feel free. You are part of the team. You're part of the family, and jump in and out as you need. So, Chris, in the notes that Bill sent, because I guess you and he had talked, you were on a previous episode back in the, low to mid 300s, I guess. We're at 452 now. But on that episode, you were talking about what you referred to as unusually or abnormally or ineffectively large polygons. Is that correct? Remind people about your previous visit.
Yes, we discussed, we had been observing an increase in the size of tornado warning polygons from some offices, I think, as we were going through this learning curve, so to speak, in trying to deal with these smaller scale, short-lived tornadoes. We were seeing some unusual tornado warning polygons to essentially cover the supposed threat. They were unusually large, and we were seeing a trend, and really it kind of, we were thinking that goes against generally the rule of thumb in, in terms of polygons, and the idea behind that, reducing geographic areas and being more specific. So
now, when you say unusually, were you saying in your office, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, in your office or in a particular region, or where was that you were noticing that?
Yeah, Tornado Alley, in the Midwest, extending into the Ohio Valley.
So not one office in particular, it was everybody in that region.
Not one office in particular, but it did happen at our office as well.
Okay, and thanks for clarifying that. And actually, let me sidetrack again. You said you noticed this. Is this a regular procedure that you or somebody at every weather office is looking at this and going, hey, I think these are just getting larger, or how did you identify this as a problem? Just observation?
Just observation. Okay. Being out on the operations floor, we're able to see warnings from adjacent offices, have a regional radar mosaic up, and we'll see the polygons from other offices, the tornado warnings, the severes. It was just through observation, and decided to jump in and kind of look at the numbers and see if there was an increase in the average size of our tornado warning polygons since the inception.
Okay, I got it. And I sidetracked you. Please keep going.
Oh, what we found is that there was an increase. I mean, it was kind of a loose, research, if you will, just kind of a general look at things, and we did see a trend, although it didn't happen during every event, the issuance of these large tornado warning polygons, but it did seem to be an increase in the size, and what the concern was with is that we were unnecessarily warning for areas that just didn't need to be warned for, and there's a cost impact, there's a societal impact when you begin to do this. The whole idea behind polygons was to shrink the geographic aerial size and to be more precise. We used to do the county-based warnings, usually much larger overall, and we were trying to get better through the science and the technology, and in trying to cover these. And it was, again, during the events where we had these QLCS tornadoes, these very small, short-lived ones that we're just trying to cover, you know, kind of a CYA thing, if you will. And I think after going through a learning curve, I believe we're improving in that area, and we're starting to see people take on a different approach where they may issue a bigger severe thunderstorm warning, but try to be more precise with their tornado warnings.
Hey, Chris, can I jump in real quick, Kevin?
Yeah, please.
You said a lot of it was with the QLCS tornado warnings. We've been trying to tighten up our tornado warning polygons too, and we've kind of got a dilemma. And I wonder how you guys deal with this. And you, contrary to popular belief, Oklahoma doesn't have a monopoly on classic supercells. You guys have your share there too. I worked in Memphis long enough to know that those are not exclusively Oklahoma storms, and I know that we found with our tornado warnings, you know, we're you know, sometimes they're too big on the backside. You know, after the storm has already passed a location, we're drawing the polygon back way past the storm where it's already gone past. And the big question we have is, how do you handle? Do you issue the tornado warning for the whole storm, or do you issue the tornado warning for where you expect the actual tornado to be, and then do something else with the large hail part of that? Have you looked at that, and what have you found with that?
That's a tough one, because, you know, if you try to be precise with a tornado warning polygon and warn for that area where you think there's going to be a tornado, you may have severe weather occurring outside of that tornado warning polygon. Say just to the north is where your large hail or your downbursting winds would occur. But then technically it's not in a warning of any kind if you're just being very precise with the tornado warning. So I've seen examples where people have issued, again, a larger severe thunderstorm warning to cover the whole supercell, and that's kind of doubling your workload, where you put a smaller tornado warning polygon inside. So I don't think it's ever the same from one storm to the next. Supercells are not of the same size. We have many supercells around here from time to time, very small scale. But your classic supercells, again, I would tend to probably find that fine balance where you issue a large enough tornado warning polygon, encapsulate most, if not all, of the severe weather, talk about the other threats briefly, maybe after the discussion about the threat for a tornado in the warning. It's tough sometimes.
Wasn't that, this is Nate Johnson, wasn't that one of the promises of storm-based warnings, was that you'd be able to issue a warning specifically for the threat that you're concerned with, and that part of that paradigm was you might have a supercell with a tornado warning for one part and a severe thunderstorm warning for hail and severe winds for another, and that one of the advantages of that was going to be, if somebody's got a phone or a location-based device, that they would get an alert specific for the threat that they should anticipate. And obviously the threats for the preparedness actions are the same. You go inside, lowest level, et cetera, but that you'd be warned only for the hazard that you'd have to deal with.
Yeah, and not only you know, we're in the graphics age now, but we still deal with textual products as well. Mm-hmm. So we have to plain language explain those text products going over to the weather radio to help people visualize, conceptualize what's going on in their mind. And you know, some of these templates, they'll, you know, hit the tornado warning information, you know, the specifics about the tornado, the path, and that, and then maybe there's a brief addition about this storm will also produce large hail, winds in excess of 70 miles an hour, you know, maybe along and just north of the track. We're doing impact-based warnings now, so our ability to do edits beyond what the templates produce is very limited. Are you doing that, Rick? Are you doing that impact?
Thankfully, we didn't have to do very many of them this spring, but yeah, we just started doing that this year, and you are more limited into the hand edits that you can do. We've handled it both ways. I mean, to be quite honest, we've issued tornado warnings and tried to keep them limited to where we thought the tornado threat might be, and you know, just kind of we didn't issue a specific severe thunderstorm warning for the rest of the storm. Other times we have. But you know, it's a challenge to balance the workload with the need for precision and really want to put out the most detailed information you can and be able to nurse that along and do that with 10 storms at once. So it's
Rick,
a challenge.
Define for people who don't know impact-based and then that massaging that you just referred to, or the hand adjusting.
Chris, you want to take that, or you want me to?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said to Rick, but both of you jump in.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
That's fine, Rick. Go ahead.
I'm only halfway listening. Sorry. I'm still thinking about that PSA earlier. Okay. Well, the impact-based warnings. Impact-based warnings is something the Weather Service has been experimenting with first in a handful of Central Region offices, then it expanded to all of Central Region. Then this past spring, it picked up several offices in the southern part of the United States and other offices. And this is the ultimate goal is to try to provide additional language in the warning to encourage action. So instead of just telling someone a tornado warning is in effect, tell them a tornado warning is in effect, and this is what may happen if the tornado hits your house, or the hail is so big it may break your windshield. So so that's going on, and because of that, because the language is more structured and kind of set in stone somewhat in those impact-based warnings, the forecasters are more limited in their ability to get in there and edit and hand edit things. You basically draw the warning on the screen and click a few buttons, and the text version of the warning pops up on your text workstation there. And you can tweak a few little things, but there's a lot of it that you just can't touch at all. So that's part of the experiment, and the reason for that is so we're all operating with the same basic wording and the same basic warnings that are going out for comparison and things like that. So that's one of the limitations of it.
Okay. Chris, I want to double back a little bit because I'm interested in the process that we went along with this. So you identify, hey, these polygons are getting a little bigger, and then you go to, I guess, a little more formal process? I mean, the Weather Service is a process-oriented group, right? You had to come up with something to do something about this, I guess.
Essentially, I presented, hey, this is how we sold storm-based warnings, and I provided through Warning Decision Training Branch examples of how we're supposed to be doing it, and in those examples from the Warning Decision Training Branch, they talked about issuing larger severe thunderstorm warnings and being more precise with smaller tornado warnings in a QLCS event, for example. I can think of one tornado warning that we put out about the time that we went along with Facebook in 2011. It covered 8 or 9 counties. What we had was essentially a squall line with 2 or 3 circulations embedded within that line. And on the larger scale, we were going to have widespread, say, 70 to 80 mile per hour winds, but there was also this concern for enhanced damage with these 2 or 3 circulations. So the forecasters, I guess, are thinking, well, what do we do? Well, I'm going to play it safe, and any of these could spin up, touch down, produce enhanced damage. Let's go ahead with the bigger tornado warning polygon. But again, that's not how we were trained, essentially, from the get-go. And our concern was with the times when a lot of these so-called circulations might not even produce anything, and we're unnecessarily warning large geographic areas. We went and we talked with some hospitals, some schools. We talked with Lowe's, for example, other major venues. What happens when we put out a tornado warning? Is it costing you money, costing you time? Of course, those are obvious answers. We know the answers to that. And so it's more than just us sitting there and going, oh, I'm going to throw one out, I'll have it covered, no problem. I think we have to think beyond that as warning forecasters and say, what's the implication? What goes on beyond the scope of the warning when I put one of these out? And it was quite clear from our customers what can happen in terms of dollars and time.
Right. And so we want to be clear. This isn't an example of the forecasters in each of the offices just going, I need to cover my butt here for accuracy rates or anything like that. I mean, there's a legitimate, especially as you said with these QLCS things, there was a legitimate reason to cover a larger area, but it ended up having a negative effect. Is that a fair assessment?
Larger geographic areas were unnecessarily being warned for, and there's always an exception to the rule. We had a New Year's Eve event near the St. Louis area, 2010, and they had EF3 tornadoes touch down near the St. Louis metropolitan area in an amazing QLCS event. Now, so in that case, they did issue larger tornado warning polygons for that event, and it worked. Sure. So that there is an exception to every rule, but in most cases, I think we can do better, and I think we have. I have not noticed that same trend that I saw, say, 2 or 3 years ago. I see offices trying to be more precise. So
good. I'd love to ask you more about that, but John wanted to jump in too a while back, and I hope we didn't blow past your question, John. Go ahead.
No, Kevin, it still fits quite nice. Chris, I'll give you some perspective from central Pennsylvania, where I think this year we may have had 3 tornado warnings in State College's CWA. And the perspective that I've been communicating with them on is these QLCS events that come through central Pennsylvania that could have these discrete circulations in them, but they may be moving in different directions, or at least over the short or the time frame of the warning. They could conceivably move in different directions, so you could actually have a polygon that intersects. So their perspective was, well, rather than dealing with multiple polygons with intersections, let's just put out one polygon which leads the event across central Pennsylvania. And from a media perspective, that's actually easier to follow. And I think that's why they have been moving towards this larger polygon, at least for severe thunderstorm warnings. That's not the case with tornado warnings. We don't have that many here.
Yeah. That makes sense. I think you could increase the size if you had to. John, what I was seeing was it was too much. It was just, I mean, they were too large, covering a geographic area, 7,000-8,000 square kilometers. I mean, when you're talking 7, 8, and 9 counties, I think that's bordering on ridiculous, and we can do better than that. But yeah, I follow what you're saying, and that makes sense.
I was going to say that. On the IEM, Iowa Environmental Mesonet site, they've got all kinds of statistics on polygons, and I think they've got like a top 10 list, the biggest polygons ever, and you can actually go on there and see the warning. And I know one of our forecasters was troubled during an event last year when he issued a polygon, and a little bit later in the event, for some reason, looked at the IEM site and saw that he was like number 3 on the largest polygons ever. That really bothered him. So, but you can go and check those out and see some examples of what Chris is talking about.
That sounds pretty cool. So, Chris, you identify this problem. Then, what is the procedure for the corrective measures? You say there's been some improvement, but how did you achieve that?
Well, I did a presentation in Bowling Green, Kentucky at a conference, and that's been between that and my presentation here on this show, that's been the extent of how far-reaching my research went. It wasn't some, grand project or whatever. I would say that the greatest benefit was locally in our office, and we definitely changed our approach as to how we were handling our QLCS or tornado events. And again, it is a real challenge. Let alone to try to identify them, because they happen so fast. Thankfully, now we have a new scan strategy where we can get data at 0.5 every 2.5 minutes now. That will help, but nevertheless, very difficult. But it's just a change in mindset at the office, going back to our training. And I agree, with John. We have to balance, good scientific service with public service, and you don't want the polygons to look screwy either. So it can be difficult sometimes. They faced that in the Joplin tornado. They had a couple of issues there with the polygons and the media trying to convey what it was that was going on. So it's very fast, very rapid pace, what's going on in our mind in the process, handling these polygons, and then in public service as well.
You bring up an interesting point that I've often wondered about, and I've never asked anybody, so you and Rick and anybody else could answer this. Has there been much confusion or pushback on the part of the public on some of these ones that, especially here where we have mostly square counties in my region, where what is this crazy thing that's multi-sided or is a strange shape? Have people responded to that in a negative way, or has that not been a problem?
Quite honestly, I don't think the majority of the public ever sees those. They see what the TV meteorologists are showing on the air, and they see the bug in the corner of the screen that lights up yellow with a severe thunderstorm warning.
Right.
I think the majority of people never see those polygons and wouldn't even know where to find them. So I haven't gotten any feedback on that.
You agree, Chris?
I would agree. Our WCM, the equivalent of Richard there, would know better than me. But yeah, I would tend to agree with that.
Mike and Rachel, I'm always interested in the opinion of students for two reasons. Because, and I don't mean this as an insult, you're obviously less experienced, but at the same time you bring fresh thinking, and I would love to hear from you guys as to what you think about the conversation and the polygons so far.
Well, obviously, I think the big thing is trying to get that severe area worn down to as low as you can. And I was at the AMS Summer Conference, in August at Penn State, and one of the interesting talks I thought they brought up was having that severe tornado warning with supercells and all that was like the hurricane track. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I think that would be helpful to a lot of the, the TV meteorologists and the public as well, that conveying that risk of, even though you're at the corner of that polygon, does it really matter to you as much? You have a very low chance of something happening there. But yeah, I think everything's going in the right track from what I could see.
Yeah, definitely, and I agree. And it's funny because we did a piece last year actually on the National Weather Service when the impact-based forecast kind of started up, at least from what we could see, and we interviewed Sterling, Virginia, in terms of fire weather and how that kind of was like an idea of the impact-based forecast. So it's kind of interesting to see how it's grown too over the past year even. And yeah, kind of with Mike there, I think it's the smaller the polygon can get, the better. And it's cool to see it go into severe weather as well.
You guys keep going. Rachel, you continue. Tell us about yourselves. Are you specializing in something particular? And tell us about the program there at Millersville.
Go for it.
All right, so I'll tell you a little bit about why I'm in the meteorology really quick. So I really didn't get triggered on by a big severe weather event or a snowstorm or a hurricane or anything of that, although I do like hurricanes, especially the visible satellites. But I'm from the Scranton area in Pennsylvania, so about 2 hours north of Millersville, and my weather interest actually peaked from watching a local morning meteorologist, Joe Snedeker. I don't know if anybody's familiar with him, but he has a unique personality, let's just put it that way, and he does some stuff on air that captures the viewer's attention. But even though he does some wacky and corny stuff, I mean, he really brings out the science and meteorology, and he brings that all to the table, and I think it's just fascinating watching him. And so he was kind of my inspiree, and I kind of want to go in the direction that he kind of leads, and I don't want to be as far as extreme as he is sometimes, but he also does a lot of good for the community as well. So that's kind of where I'm at, and of course from watching him, I wanted to go in the broadcasting aspect as well. So that's kind of why I got involved with Weather Watch too, which we'll talk about more in a minute.
We're going to do our best to dissuade you of that choice before the end of the program here. All the broadcasters will, anyway. So I'm unfamiliar with him. Give me an example of what it is that he does that's a little crazy.
Well, a couple times, when you lose a snow forecast, you're predicting 2 inches and you get 6 or 7 or 8. You got those angry viewers calling you, and he would put a bag over his head. Those kind of subtle, funny things. But like I said, he just brings so much of the science out, and shows the water vapor loop every morning and talks about how important it is. And you can't just show it and say it's here. You got to explain why it's important, how it shows. Everything kind of moves with the jet stream and all that.
Got it. Rachel, what about you? What are you focusing on? What direction are you heading?
Well, I started off actually coming into Millersville wanting to go into research, and I was pretty dead set on that actually. It wasn't until Weather Watch was started, again, which we'll talk about in a bit, that kind of got me into that broadcasting option. And then I did an awesome internship at WRAL with Nate Johnson, and then again this summer at WJAL. Hey, Dr. Scala. Who? Yeah, and y'all had me pretty convinced that this is a good way to go.
Clearly, John, we have failed her.
I was just going to say, I don't remember saying that.
What's the matter with you guys? Boy.
Yeah,
very good.
But,
well, tell us about, you mentioned Weather Watch. Tell us about that. Go on ahead. Keep going.
Well, Weather Watch was created by 2 guys, Matthew Moore and Shane Brown, who now work for WJAL. And so Curtis Silverwood is now our executive producer. And we have a really good group of students who are just really passionate about the weather in general. Not all of us are interested in broadcasting, but the main goal is to make meteorology relatable to the public, because it is, and it's involved in everyday life, and kind of make bigger topics, easier to understand. Do you have any thoughts at all?
Yeah, so we're now in our 6th season. So when we were freshmen, so just a short 4 years ago, that's when it all kind of got started, and we've been with it since. And you know, like Rachel was talking about how weather affects people every day. You know, we went to Hershey Park to talk to them how, you know, how they deal with weather impacts.
Oh.
The Lancaster Barnstormers, it's a local baseball team, maybe double A, I'm not sure, single A, but you know, right down the road, talk about how they deal with, you know, covering the field for a rain delay, that type of stuff. A couple of the research projects our department's been on, and I was included. I was actually just listening to the Owls podcast the other day that you guys had on with the gentleman from University of Alabama. So it was pretty cool to listen to everything they were talking about, and I was up there to live it. So, you know, like at Millersville, even though, you know, a lot of people going to research and forecasting, you know, you get to kind of play around with all three or all two, or, you know, get your feet wet as many opportunities as you can while you're here. So that's the unique experience I had here, and I'm sure Rachel can relate to that as well.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Let's change track a little bit. Chris, come back to you. Bill says you're the primary social media guy in Paducah.
I am.
Tell us what you guys are doing at that office.
Well, we started Facebook back in 2011, and Twitter about the same time.
We have a public service announcement, by the way, about Facebook, in case you're interested in that.
My boss would love that, but she'd lose her mind if that. Yeah. We started Facebook in 2011. Twitter, you know, around the same time, give or take, and it's been a steep learning curve. Lots of advantages to having that new communication means to and from the office, you know. But we have a great following. We have almost 35,000 followers on Facebook, nearly 7,000 on Twitter, which is actually high for little old Paducah. So we've been pretty proud with the response to our office in the social media aspect.
How do you promote, especially the Facebook page? Because you've obviously got a pretty big number. Have you done promotion of it, or has it just grown on its own?
I did like Rick. I had my own for a while, and I interacted a little bit with you know, some in the community. And I think some of it's just luck. If you have a few big events, people tend to look for you if they. Or you'll get you know, a forward or a shared link, you know, just a word of mouth kind of thing. And you know, for example, this past Saturday we had a huge successful open house, and we had 600 people come to the office to get a tour. We had some great stands available, people to see and do things, and again, word of mouth, that kind of thing. So a little bit of luck and some self-promotion.
There's an increasing amount of grumbling about the newsfeed algorithm and that old data is showing up in people's news feeds. You have any comment on that on Facebook?
Yeah, we've run into that a little bit, but overall it's not been a big problem for us, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. All right. Well, Mike and Rachel, let's talk about what you're doing. So you're young people, so you understand this social media stuff better than us old guys. Tell us what you guys are doing there.
All right, so you know, we obviously, our main platform for putting out our program is through the social media platforms. So we're trying as hard as we can to reach as many people through there, and it's been quite difficult, to say the least, trying to, you know, get our, I guess it would be consistent viewers, loyal viewers, however you want to, you know, the people that turn back, you know, every 2 weeks to watch our new episode. So that has presented a challenge, but I mean, we are new in the Facebook world. Sometimes I wish I didn't go on it with all the weather enthusiasts that hype everything up, and sometimes
well, you know,
I'm ready to just...
I'll interrupt you. We have a public service announcement that might be of interest to you in this space, but I'm sorry.
So sometimes I just want to, you know, delete Facebook for the winter season, because it kind of gets too overwhelming for me, because, you know, I have even people that talk to me about, you know, oh, did you see what this person was that predicted this right? And, you know, a good story was one of my family members. She said, you know, they got this right so many times this past winter. I said, I don't even want to hear about it. I go, you know, I'm going to school to learn the math, to learn the physics, to pay for this education, to do this. I go, I don't even want to hear about that stuff that they're saying. So I just kind of turned my back.
There's little indication that this is going to get better, this problem of all these other people and this false data rolling around. How do we fix this?
I think one of the best things I heard, and I don't think there's any way we can fix it individually. It's just that, you know, the phone calls, I guess, we'll eventually be getting that, hopefully at TV. Well, hopefully we're in a TV station getting these phone calls. But you know, the debunking the 2 feet of snow we're going to get in a month from now. You know, those kind of scenarios. But I think one of the guys at the State College National Weather Service said, you know, eventually people are going to find the right forecast. You know, after going, maybe it'll take 5 or 10 years of, you know, all these false ones going out there, and they're going to say, I can trust this person on TV. They've proven their track record time and time again. You know, they don't go out and jump on the first model run like so many people do, and that's what I'm hoping is going to happen, that just those kind of, as somebody likes to call it, the weather yahoos, you know, they'll eventually phase themselves out over time.
So we think maybe it'll be self-correcting then. That's good.
Yeah.
We can only hope.
Yep.
Well, if anybody else got to jump in or wants to jump in, by all means do. But otherwise, James, we have some maybe recorded segments.
Yeah, hey, Chris, I can't stress the importance of what you're trying to do here from a guy, and we've corresponded, you know, over the years by email, but I will tell you, it is so refreshing to see somebody within the weather enterprise understanding what happens when there's a tornado warning and it's a false warning, and all of the things that happen, the monetary loss that businesses suffer, what happens in hospitals. One of my little community jobs, I am the chairman of the board of a large tertiary care hospital, and I know what happens in our building when we have a tornado warning. In fact, some surgeries stop, and that's dangerous. And you know, you think, well, the Weather Service, they're just pulling the trigger on these things left and right. So I think it's something that's catching on. Rick, you understand it, and Chris, you understand it. But don't you guys think we're finally starting to see the negative role we have with all these false warnings over the years?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we talked with the 2 large hospitals here in McCracken County, and just listening to what it is that they have to go through in say 15 minutes when we issue a tornado warning. And you know, again, one of these large tornado warning polygons covered McCracken County here, where Paducah is located, and you know, they were unnecessarily warned for, and we caused them to invoke their tornado emergency plan of action potentially unnecessarily, costing them time, having to move patients. Again, I think forecasters having an understanding of what it is that is triggered once the tornado warning goes out is important. I mean, you got to get the right information out, you got to get the warning out, but there's a good way to do it and a not so good way to do it. And I think they need to have an understanding of what goes on after you hit the send button. It's not all about science and getting the warning right and, you know, all of that. So
yeah,
here's a question. Go ahead, Rick.
Well, I was just going to say 2 quick things. That I mean, really the most important of the whole warning process happens after we click that send button and that warning's gone. I mean, what people do with it, and you know, we're sometimes criticized for being conservative with tornado warnings in our office and not warning on every little spinny thing out there. But we try to think, like Chris has been saying, if people do what we want them to do when a tornado warning is issued, we're disrupting a lot of commerce, lives, school days, hospitals, putting people's lives in jeopardy, people doing crazy things when there's sirens are going off. I mean, the impact of the warning can be much worse than the impact of the storm itself in some cases. So we try to, I think the Weather Service is doing a better job of that. Not everybody's doing it uniformly, but you've got to think about the impacts of what you're doing. It's not just, you know, you're not just playing a video game or something and clicking buttons and sending out these cool warning polygons. I mean, your actions have impacts.
Hey, Rick, wouldn't you agree? Isn't it safe to say that for all the training that we've had, you know, sitting behind the radar, now AWIPS, you know, issuing the warnings, we've had the training in terms of science, but societally maybe not so much. I mean, I didn't have training on, you know, this is what happens when I had to go out and put foot to pavement to find out, you know, what happens to, you know, given hospital or again a large grocery store or the school system here.
So sure, I mean that's an issue. We don't have a lot of training on that, but that's getting better and more interactions like we have with, I hate to use the generic social scientists, but that, you know, we are having more interactions with people who can tell us that type of thing, and getting out and talking to people, and yeah, and we've kind of learned it the hard way, unfortunately.
Right.
So Chris and Rick, and I'll open this to Brian too. What do you say? As far as I'm concerned, you're preaching to the choir. But what do you say to the meteorologists? And there are some out there, and I sympathize with this take. But look, I went to school for meteorology. I went to school to learn how to forecast the weather. And you're telling me to do all this stuff with societal impacts. And look, I'll be better for everybody if I just make a better forecast. And there's some logic to that. What would you say to somebody who holds that opinion?
I would say that's not enough. It's not the real world. And I think our agency maybe needs to take a look at that and say, well, once we get people into the Weather Service, what kind of training can we offer and provide, beyond what, say, you had in school, what you went to school for, kind of thing. And, like Rick said, the societal impacts, the other impacts, what goes on once after you hit the send button. We need more of that. And, I get that. We went to school to be, meteorologists, but, the real world is it doesn't stop there.
Yeah, and I hear that comment, and I sympathize with that, and I understand that, but it's different. Things are changing. The Weather Service is changing. The world is changing, and I think we need to eventually we're going to look at how weather offices are staffed, and maybe we don't have as many meteorologists, or maybe we start looking at different things when we're hiring meteorologists about having this cross-training or this cross-expertise on social science or whatever.
Not hiring as many meteorologists. I believe the union is on line one for you.
Yeah, Chris, I've got one other.
Expressed by Rick Smith do not reflect the opinions. I need a disclaimer. Let me type it up on my lower third here.
Go ahead, Dr. John.
You know what I mean. I'm not saying we need fewer people in offices. I'm saying we might need different skill sets in offices, or redistribute the workload a little bit within an office.
I tend to agree with that, and I think, at least from my perspective, I think that the answer here is not changing work roles, but maybe adding a person or two. I mean, giving the WCMs tend to shoulder a lot of this social science load, and y'all need a little help.
Absolutely.
By and large, but a little bit of extra assistance to help out with that, and to help encourage meteorologists who maybe aren't comfortable. And I think my sense is, from the Weather Service folks that I've met, that the hesitancy isn't I don't want to, it's I'm not comfortable with because that's not my training. And I have a lot of sympathy with that view, and I think providing additional training opportunities and really at a policy level, incentivizing that. I hate to use that word, but really encouraging in terms of including that in verification statistics and making it a way to get ahead and to show to earn promotions and that sort of thing, to really make it a valuable part of what the Weather Service does, as opposed to we need to throw a little social science in here and that'll make things better. It needs to be core to the mission, and that's going to include changing some worker duties, but you can't do that without encouraging and training and helping people along. You can't just throw them a book and say, here, you need to do this.
No, it's a wholesale cultural change in the Weather Service, and in any organization, that's a challenge. And in a government organization with geeky, introverted scientists that want to look at computer screens and do the forecast, which is a very important thing, and we need that's what we're there for. One of the primary things, but we've got to expand, and it's not going to be easy.
Yeah. And we're doing it extends beyond the warning process too. You're going to hear more about decision support services within the Weather Service, where we work hand in hand with local emergency management officials and other government agencies to provide support for them during say for a large venue, potential high impact events. And again, people are going to have to interact more one-on-one. They're going to have that social thing going on there versus just kind of sitting in their cube and putting the forecast out, hitting send, and then they can go have lunch. So it's expanding. It's not just with warning services, but with decision support services as well, across the gamut from winter weather to severe weather. Would you agree with that, Rick?
Absolutely, yeah. There's lots of things that are taking us out of our comfort zone when it comes to whether it's social media, on-site decision support. There's a lot of things are changing. I mean, there's just a lot of things that are making our jobs bigger and more expansive, and things that who would have ever dreamed you'd be doing all of this type of specialized forecasting and on-site support and social media, and have to be part social psychologist and part human geographer. It's we're all learning. It's a new world.
This is a great discussion. If you're going to be at the National Weather Association meeting, the annual meeting in Salt Lake City next month, where I will be moderating a special session on Monday morning, I think it is, and we're going to be addressing this very subject, and that is getting the end user to make the correct and timely response when a warning is issued. And I want to read something to you and get your response, everybody that's listening here. This was made by the National Weather Service Office, this statement by the National Weather Service Office in Houston on the morning of September 11th, 2008. You remember what was happening at that time? This was 35 and a half hours before Ike made landfall.
Ike. Yeah.
And this statement was made by the Weather Service Forecast Office, and I quote, "Persons not heeding evacuation orders in single-family 1- or 2-story homes will face certain death." That's pretty profound from an organization that wanted to stick to the same line for every kind of statement.
Yeah, I remember that.
Was that a canned statement that had been in there for years and years, or did they write that specifically for Ike?
Yeah, that was written specifically for Ike.
Yeah, there's never been anything like that canned that I know of.
Yeah, and it took off too, especially here in Texas. I mean, that became a meme real quickly. And I don't remember much. I remember it going around, but I don't remember a lot of discussion after. Well, there was a little, but I don't remember what the sentiment was. Maybe you guys do. Was it too much or not? I guess that's probably what you're asking, John, right?
Yeah. What was the impact? Did it make a difference?
And it's the scare factor. Does that kind of tone and wording, does it work? Does it scare people enough to go, I've got to get out of here? Or does it backlash and have the opposite effect?
And it really has to.
Sure, if you're going to break the glass and use a statement like that, you better be pretty darn confident that that's not going to be a false alarm, because you can only do that once and screw it up.
Break the glass. That's your show title. Either that or public service announcement. One of the two.
That's what we talk about with tornado emergencies. It's
exactly
2 people turning a key to launch a missile or breaking a glass or something. You got to save that stuff for when it really matters.
Yeah.
Well, and then you got to watch the. You can't break the glass too many times because then it becomes cry wolf, and people stop paying attention. And when you do it too many times, in addition to crying, I mean, people just become desensitized. I was just thinking the other day. I mean, this isn't weather related, but you remember when the Target credit card scandal came out, or the leak, and everybody was just. I mean, as James always says, people had their underwear flapping up down their legs. But then that died down a little bit, and then a couple weeks ago, Home Depot was a bigger breach, and people kind of shrugged and went, "Yeah, okay, I guess that's the way it is now."
Yeah.
So, John, what's and from the Weather Service perspective as well, what happened in that situation, and was it too much? Answer your own question, John, and then let the Weather Service guys say, what happens when you say you're going to die? Are you likely to do that in a severe weather situation?
Let me answer that, Kevin, by going back to May 3rd, 99. And I remember...
Wait. Stand by.
We interrupt this program for a CBS Radio Net Alert Bulletin.
Fall is here.
I'm sorry. I said tonight you won't don't expect flashing lights outside your window. You won't notice it.
No, we'll just play the breaking news theme, and James will do his thing. And for those of you listening to this podcast on Friday afternoon as you're jogging around, know that fall's been here for a week, and we're just not getting around to it because we roll around here. This show is always
John,
live. Whenever you listen to it, it's live. We just may be
It's
slow.
always live.
Well, I have an idea. I'm going to use my light bulb here. See?
Okay. That might be the corniest thing.
But I love it.
Here, do you need to do this? Get the light.
We can still see.
I mean, if
how you doing that.
you know, John, if you're going to do that, that light bulb needs to be on. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying.
I see. Well, I don't have a comeback for that one. Shall I say my bulb's not connected?
There's a title.
Show title right there.
That's definite show
We're
title.
losing control. It's going
Yes,
right
we
down
are.
the Kev.
All right, so go back to May 1999, John.
Well, to answer your question, Kevin, I was working the Weather Channel covering that outbreak in the plains, and I remember seeing the very first tornado emergency issued by the National Weather Service. I remember when that came off, and I remember reading it thinking, did I read this correct? I've never heard of this statement before. Well, from my perspective, it absolutely caught my attention. I immediately went on the air with it, and I said, this has just been issued by the Weather Service office in Norman for Oklahoma City. Well, it worked with me. It got my attention. It's only been issued a few times since. Well, that perspective, not used often, but when it is used, it gets your attention. Now, in terms of the Ike, well, in that situation, they were concerned about a very large storm surge that was going to exist for a long period of time because this storm was 35 and a half hours away from landfall. It was already producing some damage along the coast. What was the outcome? I really don't know, but if you look at any pictures of Bolivar Peninsula, there's nothing left. That was just a board after Ike.
Right. So Rick and Chris, what's the Weather Service going to say when you use language like that?
Well, of course, the tornado emergency in '99 was just made up on the fly by who's my boss now, David Andrew. They needed to shake people and say this is different, and it did work. And we've only used it here a handful of times. Since then, it's been directivized, if that's the word. It's in the Weather Service directives. It's an official thing now, and a lot of times when it becomes an official thing, it's not. It loses some of the punch. But we used it last year on May 20th, and it definitely got the media attention here. They definitely jumped all over it and knew it was something special and something different. So that's still out there. But then the question becomes, what are we going to do next time? What are the words or what's the language that we can use to get people's attention about a crippling ice storm that we see coming, or a flood situation, or whatever the weather event is? I mean, we just have to really, another analogy, silver bullets. We really just have to keep those things close and keep those, and just it can't be just a thing where on a whim you decide to throw out a tornado emergency or whatever the scary language is. You gotta, there were 4 people debating that tornado emergency on May 20th. We debated about 30 seconds, but still it was discussed, and you've got to treat that very, very seriously, I think.
And it's about how the message resonates beyond the Weather Service. Speaking of an ice storm, we had a very damaging ice storm in 2009, and we decided to hold a press conference with the media, and we actually had members of the media come out to the weather office with cameras, etc. And later that day, one of the local affiliates said, this is something the Weather Service doesn't do. They don't just hold press conferences before an event, and that's something that they normally don't say. So it's also about the kind of message being delivered once it leaves our office, and how our partners say turn around and relay that message as well. That kind of goes back to a comment earlier about how are people receiving the message, what are they going to do, so it's about utilizing your partners and people that you work with as well, and and getting the message out.
Very good. I think Rachel gets the last question before we move on. Rachel?
No pressure.
Well, it was it was more of an idea, and I hate to travel too far backwards, but as far as training people, especially in the National Weather Service, talking about this impact-based forecasts, and like communicating with others, especially with emergency management in terms of severe weather. From a college perspective, there's a lot of college kids interested in emergency management. We have some classes here at Millersville involved with that, and coming off of a few internships as well. I think an idea might be to throw out some options for National Weather Service internships that are heavily involved with communicating with others, emergency management, anything like that, because that'll kind of get younger kids' feet wet, students, and understanding how to communicate with others about that kind of stuff. And I learned more in my internships, thank you guys again, than I did here in school, I feel like. And if people already have that passion starting off soon, then that's just going to grow and they're going to have more and more ideas. So I think, student involvement at an internship level would be really an awesome idea to kind of get that going at a younger age as well. Yeah.
Very good. James, move us forward, sir.
All right, yeah. Let's do that. We're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to roll Professor Peters. We've got Tony Rice and his report. We've got news, and we got the email. We've got picks of the week. We got weather roundup, and a whole lot more coming up here. So don't go away as WeatherBrains rolls along.
WeatherBrains 101 with Professor Peters.
This particular episode of WeatherBrains coincides with the occurrence of the autumnal equinox. There are two equinoxes each year, this one and the one in March. The autumnal equinox occurs on either September 22nd, 23rd, or 24th, and it marks the point at which the center of the sun crosses the equator on its journey southward. The Earth's axis is tilted at an angle of 23.5 degrees in relation to the ecliptic, the imaginary plane created by the Earth's path around the sun. The orientation of the tilt actually changes throughout the year. On any other day, the Earth's axis tilts a little away from or toward the sun. But on these two equinoxes, the Earth's axis tilts neither away from nor toward the sun. This means that the sun's rays are perpendicular to the Earth at the equator. This is actually how the event got its name, drawing from the Latin, which means equal night. On these 2 days, the geometric center of the sun is above the horizon for 12 hours, and one might think this would indicate that the length of the day, that is, the hours of daylight, would be the same as the hours of darkness. But sunrise is defined as the instant when the upper edge of the sun's disk becomes visible above the horizon, not when the center of the sun is visible. In the same way, sunset refers to the moment that the upper edge disappears below the horizon. In both cases, the center of the sun is below the horizon, and therefore the equinox day lasts a little longer than 12 hours. Another reason that the sun is visible longer than 12 hours on an equinox is that the Earth's atmosphere works to refract the sunlight. Refraction causes the sun's upper edge to be visible from Earth several minutes before the edge actually reaches the horizon. In the evening, we can see the sun for several minutes after it has actually dipped under the horizon. This causes every day on Earth, including the days of the equinoxes, to appear at least 6 minutes longer than it actually is. The atmosphere of our planet, always an interesting study.
Looking beyond the atmosphere, I'm Tony Rice with your astronomy outlook for the week of September 22nd. Tonight, at 10:29 p.m., not far from when this segment normally airs, the equinox, autumnal in the north and vernal in the south, will occur and astronomical fall begins. At that moment, Earth's 23.5 degree axial tilt is aligned relative to the sun, and the sun will shine directly on the equator. This happens each non-leap year on September 22nd or 23rd. The word equinox comes from Latin for equal night, which might lead you to believe that we also saw 12 hours of sunlight today. That isn't the case. In northern reaches of Alaska and northern Canadian provinces, day approximately equals night on Thursday the 25th. South of 45 degrees latitude, or about the border between Montana and Wyoming, the closest you'll have to 12 hours of sunlight is on Friday. The southern tip of Texas and most of Florida celebrate their day of solar equality on Saturday. This happens because the sun appears to be above the horizon longer than it actually is, due to atmospheric refraction. Refraction is at its highest, 34 arc minutes, at the horizon as we look through the maximum amount of the atmosphere. Light is bent sufficiently to extend our view of the sun at sunrise and sunset by about 6 minutes. Temperature and air pressure can also impact how the sunlight is bent. Wednesday marks the new moon, a great time to get out and stargaze. Look for the summer triangle formed high in the east by Deneb, Altair, and directly overhead for the bright star Vega. Sunday, Mars, the Moon, and Saturn will line up for you after sunset in an easy-to-identify row in the western sky. That's your Astronomy Outlook. I'm NASA Ambassador Tony Rice. You can follow me on Twitter at RTPHokey for more spacey stuff like this.
When the weather ball is red, warmer weather is ahead. When the weather ball is white, colder weather is in sight. When the weather ball is green, no change in the weather is foreseen. When colors blink by night or day, precipitation's on the way.
Well, it's cool, and I think that's the only thing we need to say. It's kind of quiet around the nation. This is September 22nd. Goodness, continental air, dry, tropics relatively quiet.
My windows are open. Whose windows are open?
Nope.
I have no windows. I can't bash a hole in here.
No, mine are open, and I actually found a security feature for my windows because I love having them open, but I get a little nervous at night having them open, and Home Depot and Lowe's make these little locks you can screw on so no one can push your windows up. Fantastic, and I feel safe at night.
Is that your pick of the week?
It's my second pick.
That's an awesome pick of the week. So, tropics, are we going to have a late season Gulf of Mexico homegrown system in October? I wonder. Any thoughts on that, guys, ladies, gentlemen?
If we do, it'll go to Galveston.
Galveston, exactly.
I'm just jealous of West Texas. I'm happy for West Texas, but I'm jealous because they got the what was left of Odile. Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah. Yeah, they got quite a bit out there. Oh no.
Yeah, you know, I'm not as quick on the trigger as I used to be. Hang on, here we go.
And dream of Galveston.
All right.
Yeah, so it's good help with the drought in West Texas, but we still need some North Central and Northwest Texas. But that's the extent of my tropical knowledge as of late.
All right, well, look here. Let's watch the ball. We've got to move on here. I would imagine we have a little email to take care of, so let's open that thing up.
Letters. We get letters. We get stacks and stacks of letters.
And by letters, we have a letter for tonight. We have a letter from Michael Hansen, and Michael says, I remember as a kid, who is the same age as James Spann, by the way, a weather tower on a bank building in downtown Billings, Montana that was similar to the weather ball attributes in the jingle. Were these weather indicators the norm back in the 60s?
You know, I think that this particular jingle, the weather ball thing that we play, actually was from Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I do believe, if my memory serves me correct, it was from WCCO radio in Minneapolis. But I think that was a fairly popular thing to do back in those days. So I would not be shocked if it was used in more than one market. So I say, yeah, it's probably something kind of hip back in the 50s or 60s.
I know they did in Boston. I guess they still do for a number of years. The top of the Hancock Tower, the John Hancock Building. There were two. But the top there is kind of a big spire cupola kind of a thing. But that thing changed between red and blue and I think maybe white and green to represent weather there, and that's been going for years and years in Boston.
What was weird in our market, we have this statue on a mountain that overlooks the city called Vulcan, and the Vulcan has a torch, and that thing used to go red and green, but it was not related to weather. It was related on if there was a traffic accident involving a fatality. It would go red, which I thought was really strange and creepy. It was kind of creepy, you know?
I remember that.
Yeah, that thing was really creepy, but they don't do that anymore. So
Moon over Homewood.
Lights have been taken off. Moon over Homewood, another show title. Yes. I'm sorry, Aubrey, go ahead.
That's okay. The only other letter I have is from John Huntington, who says, just caught up on the show last week, and he's glad that we mentioned the situation in Baja from Odile, or as I like to say, Odile.
That's right.
See, I should be renaming these things. I mean, this would be so much more fun. And he said, unfortunately, speaking of a serious situation, I think, and this is at the time when we said that there hadn't been a lot of communication getting out after the storm had started to move in. I think there's probably a humanitarian disaster down there, and we haven't fully heard of it because of the communications were cut off. So unfortunately, that was a bad situation, and it also caused a lot of flooding in parts of the U.S., also in parts of the desert Southwest, from Arizona to even parts of Texas. I know even Austin got hit with some heavy rain, and other areas as well saw some heavy rain. So rain needed in some areas, but unfortunately all at once. So that is all the emails I have for this week, as always. So if you have an email for us and you'd like to send it to email@weatherbrains.com. We would love to hear your guest suggestions. We would also love to hear your show topic ideas. We would love to hear maybe a favorite pick or a website of the week. You can send it to us at email@weatherbrains.com. You can find us on the Twitter @WeatherBrains. You can find us on Facebook. Just search for WeatherBrains. You can also find us all individually. You can pick your favorite or pick all of us and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter.
Hey, I'll add, just as kind of email related, if I may,
Okay.
Aubrey. I got notes from a couple of people today saying that they got notes from Teespring saying that the WeatherBrains T-shirts have been shipped, which is good news. And I wanted to give you a quick update on that too. First of all, I want to thank everybody who ordered one. Apparently 66 people are crazy enough to want to show off in public that they listened to this program and ordered a T-shirt or a hoodie, and we can't tell you how much we appreciate that. It really is nice of everybody. I didn't know this was going to happen, but on the Teespring site, once it officially ended, you remember it went through last week, it was a 3-week period that you could order, but it says on there now apparently they will relaunch the campaign, but you have to get 15 more, a minimum of 15 more to order. And apparently 2 people, I don't know who they are, but 2 people have gone in and said, yes, I still want one. So the site is saying now only 13 needed to relaunch. So if you want to have a bulk order, or if there are 13 other people who are interested in having a WeatherBrains T-shirt, you can still go in and do that. I guess the hoodies as well. They're black with our new logo on there. And the website address for that is Teespring, and that's TEE spring.com/weatherbrains. James?
You have it
All right, time now for Nate's News with Nate. How's that for an intro?
Your pipes aren't as good as Morgan's. Keep trying, though.
No, man. We got to get Morgan Palmer to do a Nate's News intro. Somebody's going to go find him.
And he's got a PR40 now, too. So
yeah.
He's got a PR40, and he's got the big pipes. Yeah, it'd be good. Yeah.
So get your buzzer ready, James. Study published in this month's issue of the Bulletin of the American Meteorological Society, not to be confused with the American Meteor Society, completely different organization. They did a survey of AMS members, and of the members who are actively publishing in climate science, 93% believe that climate change is happening, and 78% believe it is human-caused. That mirrors largely a study.
I'm sorry. Let me suspend the buzzer. What were the percentages again?
So 93%. So you got of the AMS membership who identified themselves as climate scientists and who are actively publishing in climate science. Of those folks, 93%. So in a sense, they said, who are the experts? The experts are the people doing publishing in this topic. And the experts say, of 93% of them say it's happening, and 78% say that it is human-caused.
Do we have a number?
Well, the stunning number to me is the fact that 7% think the climate doesn't change. I mean, that's creepy. I mean, that's very creepy. Wow.
How many are publishing? I'm curious.
I don't have the numbers in front of me. I can look, but it is in the most recent issue of the Bulletin of the AMS. I will hold it up for those who are watching on the live stream and who will watch the video later. And you can view this on the AMS website. That is open access to that particular journal. one of the interesting things, and this goes to the heart, I think, of what of one of the things that I think a lot of people believe. One of the second highest things, so they did a lot of correlation tests to see what sorts of things correlated with how people believed on climate change. Excuse me. The second highest factor that would predict whether somebody believed climate change was happening or not was political ideology.
Yep.
So that's a very interesting finding.
That's interesting.
So,
That's the problem.
all right. So moving on. More evidence that if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. In the early 80s, we realized that there was a hole in the ozone layer growing across the southern part of the globe. Well, guess what? We're fixing it. It's stabilized, and the current projections say that by 2050 we'll have it back to pre-1980 levels. And they attribute that largely to the changes made by the 1987, what was called the Montreal Protocol, one of the things that eliminated or began to eliminate chlorofluorocarbons. Remember CFCs? Now it's all GHGs that we want to get rid of, but CFCs, we've cut those out. The ozone hole getting stabilizing and hopefully turning the corner there. So that's certainly some good news there. Third thing, National Weather Association, the blocks are done. The cheap hotel rates are done, but come anyway. It's going to be great. They double schedule me, so I've got 2 talks, but they're all happening at the same time, so it's only 15 minutes. The rest of it's going to be fantastic. You should be there. Fourth thing, and the next 2 things are related. Number 1, WeatherBrains is now a Weather Ready Nation ambassador.
Dun dun dun.
We need to have the cheering noise, man. You need to get a sound effect with balloons and confetti and everything. There you go. And in coming episodes, Kevin Sully will be providing updates on what sorts of things are happening. I will provide the first one of those updates to sort of prime the engine, if you will, tomorrow. Tomorrow, if you're listening live. Otherwise, it's Tuesday, September 23rd from 2 to 3 Eastern Time. That means 11 a.m. to noon on the West Coast. They will be holding a Twitter preparedness chat. You can join by tweeting at the hashtag PrepareChat. And you can get your preparedness questions answered by a panel of experts on the Twitter. So check that out. And that is all the news we have for this night, Monday, September 22nd. Thank God summer is gone. I'm ready for some open window sleeping weather in North Carolina. Back to you.
I'm about to fall asleep right now, as a matter of fact. Hey, we got picks of the week. Let's start with the fog bank.
Michael, this is all very confusing.
Hello, fellow weather geeks. This is David Phillips, Skydaver on Twitter with the fog bank. My first pick comes from the magazine Communications of the ACM, the Association for Computing Machinery, with an article about high-power computing, big data, and weather forecasting. I believe the article is available to the public, and the link will be in my blog. The National Weather Service tweeted out a frequently asked questions on wireless emergency alerts. The Capital Weather Gang's Jason Samnow had a great post about the ISS RapidScat, a new weather instrument about to be placed on the International Space Station. My next pick is going to take a little bit of time. I finally had a chance to watch Weather Geeks on the Weather Channel. The episode I saw was with Dr. Uccellini. I watched this on my large flat screen. The show sucks. It sucks pond scum. It could suck a golf ball through a garden hose. I'm almost certain that the director is an 8-year-old child that has eaten nothing but cotton candy for a week. Dr. Shepard, his guests, and the discussion are great. Unfortunately, they are overwhelmed by the absolute video garbage put on the green screen behind them. This is a television show that should be on radio. The video is horrible, with far, far too much distraction. On HD, the picture is shrunk down to allow a side and bottom graphic. Those graphics are intolerable. I can understand the bottom bar, which shows the local condition and forecast. The sidebar, however, is just fluff, and I can't think of any non-vulgar words to describe it. What is inexcusable and visually jarring is the animated crap that the producers put on the green screen behind the hosts and guests. It is horribly distracting and has nothing whatsoever to do with what the people are discussing. I've edited out some of my more intemperate remarks, but this is just my opinion. And in the time since I wrote that, I have seen more episodes online. Those are much more tolerable, probably because the video is only 5 inches across, not 60. My last pick is the astronomy picture of the day for September 22nd, with the time-lapse video of a geosynchronous satellite of showing the equinox day. Thanks for listening. Skydiver out.
Interface complete.
Wow, well, that was entertaining.
That's hilarious.
You know, boy,
Perfect timing on that.
Did he say suck a golf ball through a garden hose?
Title.
I will tell you really.
That was great.
Oh man.
Golly. So my invitation has been canceled to be on that show.
Wow.
Really?
It's this point in the show where we need to remind folks that Skydiver is an independent contractor, and his opinions do not necessarily reflect those of WeatherBrains, James Spann, or its management.
Wow, that'll give us some fun things to talk about. No, I'm going to be on Marshall's show.
Remind me, by the way, not to make Skydiver mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, that was awesome. That's one of the greatest rants we've ever had on this show. And it just out of nowhere. I don't listen to any of these audio segments. I just drop them in and play them. That was a treat. I was a little nervous. I don't know, where's this going, man?
Yeah,
wow.
my wheels are spinning for next week now. Boy, what can I come up with now?
Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to be on that show the next 2 Sundays. It airs at noon Eastern on Sundays. We're recording this Wednesday night, and maybe not. But anyway, we'll do Picks of the Week. Mine is it's a piece on the lack of major hurricane landfall. In fact, as of today, 3,255 days since the last U.S. major hurricane landfall. And
how many?
Piece on that, and 3,255. It's just the last major hurricane to landfall on the United States coast.
Have we, WeatherBrains, has there been a major hurricane to make landfall since we started WeatherBrains 400 and some odd episodes ago?
2008, the last one.
Yeah. It was Ike, wasn't it?
Ike.
Was that the last one?
It was
Ike. That was the one that we were talking about, that John was talking about.
Wow.
I need to go back and get the dates on when the show started, but it's very close. But I want to say we were on the air. We were doing WeatherBrains back then, but that goes back a long, long way. But, Kev, I got 2 minutes. I got to go. The rest of the show, sir, belongs to you.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll continue on with the Picks of the Week then. Aubrey, what do you say?
Mine is from Stormfax. It is a list of a bunch of different states, Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, parts of the Southeast, of foliage links where you can go and get updates. I like the Yankee foliage website. It's nice and colorful, yet it's not always accurate because it depends on people to report, and when a few people report, all of a sudden, you have foliage coverage, and it's not always accurate. So this links into a lot of the Department of Forestry pages, and I like this one a lot better.
Excellent. Okay, so that link will be on the website at weatherbrains.com, which is expertly maintained by Dr. Peters, who also has a pick of the week, I'm sure.
No, not this week. I get the foghorn. Which you get the foghorn.
That was pretty good, Nate.
That was very good.
Yeah, that was impressive. Wow.
Thanks.
Chris, did Bill give you a heads up about a pick of the week, Chris?
No.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Do you have anything you want to plug? Any websites
Hey, all right. No.
How about your Facebook page?
Yeah, I actually did think of that. Facebook.com/NWS Paducah. Same with Twitter.
Very good. How about you, John? You got a pick of the week?
Absolute. Professional meteorologists tend to belong to one of two organizations, the AMS, the American Meteorological Society, or the National Weather Association, or if you're like me, you belong to both. And therefore your money just keeps going out of your pocket. But last week, a third society premiered. It's called the Open Atmospheric Society. This is an open access society. They intend to have peer review process and publishing. And according to their homepage, which is my pick of the week, they're saying the publishing peer review comments, not names, will illuminate the process. So you'll These comments that are made by the peer reviewers are available.
How much is this going to cost me?
Based on the name, it sounds like a bunch of naked meteorologists doing drugs in the woods or something like that.
Well, if you want to read the homepage on this, this is going to be very interesting to see if this goes anywhere.
All right. So give the URL again.
It is theoas.org.
Very good. All right, we'll check it out. Mike, how about a pick of the week? Did Bill give you a warning? If not, you can plug anything you want.
Oh yeah, we got the warning. I'm a loyal listener ever since
very
the
good.
summer, since I heard this. So my pick of the week is all our social media platforms. You Google us, MU Weather Watch. You know, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And yesterday we just released one of our shorter episodes. So we have like 4 long 7-minute episodes, and then in between those we have 3 or 4 short episodes. So they're only like 3 minutes long. So we just had one that released yesterday. So that's my plug. I'll have to send the YouTube link along for that.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Thank you. Rachel, how about you?
Going alongside that, got to plug the Weather Watch. MUWeatherWatch.com is where we have all of these episodes. You can also find our bios for all the people involved and also some of our really popular clips from popular episodes in the past.
Excellent. All right, moving on down the line. Nate, will you give yourself the foghorn, or do you have a pick?
No, I have a pick, and I did not read Skydaver's email. I was going to use one of the Equinox things, but since that horse has been beaten dead, I'm going to go with an article written. Of course, today, this morning, midnight, was the 25th anniversary of the landfall of Hurricane Hugo. That struck Charleston, South Carolina, and eventually made its way across western North Carolina. That was one of these many storms of my youth, and I remember it vividly that morning. And so I posted a link to something I didn't realize until last Friday, that we very nearly lost a Hurricane Hunter aircraft in Hurricane Hugo. And Dr. Jeff Masters from Weather Underground wrote up a fascinating, it's a long read, and it is worth every minute you will spend reading it. It is riveting. Bill Murray, they need to talk him in and turn that into a book, but it was really good to check it out about how we almost lost a Hurricane Hunter in Hurricane Hugo.
I'll bet that is a good read. Excellent.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much. Rick Smith, pick of the week, sir.
I've got an unusual one this week. My son went to a band competition Saturday, and one of the bands from a neighboring community here did an amazing performance. It's the Southmore High School Marching Band. They're located in Moore, Oklahoma. They have 3 high schools there. There's pictures of the tornado on May 20th of last year, right at their high school. It went very close to their school. And the field that they performed on Saturday night where they did this show was just a mile north of the core of the damage path. Their show, which we'll post the link to the YouTube video up on the website, is amazing. It kind of goes before the tornado and during the tornado and after and the recovery, and this is all with sound effects. It's the first marching band halftime type show I've ever seen that features Damon Lane and Gary England and the weather radio automated voice and a tornado siren, and it kind of was I don't know if you were affected by the tornado, it might be kind of a emotional experience, but it was a very cool show, and that video is up on our website.
Very good, at weatherbrains.com. Thank you, Rick. All right, we're going to wrap this thing up. How about some personal Twitter accounts or whatever you want to plug from our guests? Chris, you want to start? Where are you on Twitter or anywhere you want to send people?
Again, just weather.com/Paducah for our website. Actually,
Weather.com or .gov?
.gov. I'm sorry. Newbie. I'm a newbie. Weather.gov/Paducah, and we do have an article on there. I don't know that the pattern favors anything like the sort over the next month or so, but we do have an article on our website talking about the dangers of the second severe weather season. You know, we have a secondary peak in the fall in this part of the world. Tornadoes, more likely to happen in late October and November. So, Twitter.com, I'll get it right, /NWS Paducah, and Facebook.com/NWS Paducah.
Very good. Chris, thanks very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
How about you guys? Mike, you have a personal Twitter account you want to plug or anything?
Yeah, my personal Twitter account is Mike Yalch, YALCHWX. So pretty simple. And then I'm on Facebook too, Mike. Y'all just find
Very
me there.
good. Prepare for 7 new followers.
Cool.
All right, Rachel, how about you?
Mine is, I think, Coulter_10. I'm pretty sure it's my basketball number. I can't remember. I don't use it too often. And then Facebook, just Rachel Coulter. Nate's a friend, so that's an easy way to find me.
Very good. All right, we're going to start wrapping up. You know, we need to mention, though, the T-shirts again. Aubrey, what should we do? Because we're getting some notes from people, and I would love everybody who got one who wants to have a picture. You could tweet it out, I guess, and use @WeatherBrains, or do we want to have them send it to email? Because we should collect these in a little gallery or something.
Yes, absolutely. I told my father-in-law because he sent me an email or a text today and said that he got the notification. So I think if you get the shirt when you get it, send us. If you have Twitter, it's easy to tweet at us. If not, just send us an email of your selfie. You can take a selfie with your WeatherBrains T-shirt or hoodie.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That's very good. Okay, good idea. We'll definitely do that. And that's if we want to try and revive that, or anybody does, it's teespring.com with 2 E's /weather. And that's a good opportunity to wrap this show up. We appreciate everybody being here. All the contact information, if you want to get us those T-shirt selfies, is on the website at weatherbrains.com. We usually record this program every Monday night at 8:30 Central Time, and you can watch it live at live.bigbrainsmedia.com. And we thank everybody for listening and watching through the week, and again ordering the T-shirts and the hoodies. We'll look for you next time. I am not James Spann. Have a great week, and God. All right, I think that's enough.
Good night.
Good night.
Good. Hey guys, thanks for being here. Appreciate it, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. It's been
Oh, there's
fun.
Bear. Hi, Bear.
There's Bear. There's chewing on socks.
Oh, you taught him to chew on socks already. Her. It's her, right?
She won't let go. She's.
You know what? I read about that's whose sock is that?
It's Brooke.
It's what?
It's mine.
It's my husband. It's
Okay.
me.
Well, I remember reading years ago when Twister was still around that one of the reasons that dogs like to do that is because they will associate a certain smell with obviously a sock, and they like that. And who knows if this is true or not? But the person that wrote whatever it was that I read was suggesting that a dog carrying around one of its owner's socks is the equivalent of somebody carrying around a picture of a loved one in their wallet.
No.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
Aw, you're carrying around Daddy with you.
All right, well, that's a good note to end on. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See ya.
See you, Rachel.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Oh boy. Looks like everybody left at 10:05. Wow. Which is really creepy that some people have been hanging in here for 30 minutes. No, going on the Weather Channel's Weather Geeks, and I look, when they first came on the air, a lot of people thought I was going to be mad and go on this tirade about how they ripped us off, and no, I'm not. I consider Marshall a good friend and a great guy. He's done a lot for the Weather Enterprise, and what they do and what we do, it's not in the same universe. The only thing in common is that the shows are designed for weather fanatics, people that really love weather. It's not for Joe Q public. And I've said this on here before, if you look at the amount of content they have in one show, it's basically 15 minutes, and that's what our pre-show is. We do a 90-minute produced show, and we could do anything we want here. I mean, we have no pressure from advertisers. You know the outrageous things we've said. We try and be transparent, and we don't have any producer in our ear, hollering at us about time cues and do this and do that. So, it's just two different types of media. And but again, after Skydaver's tirade, they might revoke my invitation. I don't know, but that was great, man. Skydaver, man, he was the highlight of the show with that rant. Boy, that was awesome. Wow. So no, still working for the new people here. We're about to turn off our transmitters. That is a ton of fun, for all these years. We have had these transmitters on the air, and they go away in like 8 days or something. They are going off the air. They're turning the license back to the FCC, and we are going on a .2 of another UHF channel here in the city, which is just so weird. But this day and age, about 90% of our people watch us by cable or satellite. But 10%, that's a significant number of people in a market this size. And, they're going to have to go rescan their television and find us. And we also have the channel that carries WeatherBrains. We've got to move that to another signal, and some other ones too. It's very complicated, but whatever. We'll just have some fun. But no, I'll be taping the Weather Geeks and the Weather Channel Wednesday night, and the episodes will run on Sundays, Sunday mornings at noon Eastern, 11 Central. So if you want to see my tirade on that side, on the television side, be sure and join us for that. But I got to go. It's I don't know what. Usually Mondays I'm fresh, but for some reason I'm not. I've had this disease or whatever this is, this sickness for like 2 weeks, but I'm getting better, and I'll be back at full speed next week. So we'll see you guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great week. God bless. Good day and good night.